About Naaman the Syrian and leper. Naaman the Syrian was a valiant general in the days of the prophet Elisha, who had on many occasions demonstrated his bravery and courage. Yet, together with fame, power, esteem, honors, and glory, Naaman was forced to live with a tragic situation. He had leprosy. His armor that had won him renown, in reality covered a frail, wounded, and diseased humanity. We often find this contradiction in our own lives. Sometimes great gifts are the armor that covers great frailties. Naaman came to understand a fundamental truth. We cannot spend our lives hiding behind armor, a role we play, or social recognition. In the end, this only hurts us. The moment of discovery, a type of public disrobing, occurs for each individual's life when she or he desires to set aside the glitter, the false carapace, the world's glory and false news, and the need to keep up appearances for appearance's sake. Only in a desire to take up an authentic life with its fullness in the relationships with other authentic persons, and no further a need for or desire for the glitter, masks, armor, or dishonesty. This desire for honesty in his life, a desire to remove his armor, both real and the implied, that covered the portion of his life and body he wanted to remain private, impelled Naaman to set out on a journey in search of someone who could help him. And he did this at the suggestion of a Jewish slave girl, a POW, who told him of a God able to bring healing to hopeless situations like his own. Laden with silver and gold, Naaman set out on his journey, and those who came to Elisha, who laid down for him as the only condition for his healing the simple gesture of disrobing and washing 7 times in the Jordan River. Nothing to do with celebrity, honors, gold, or silver. The grace that saves is free. It is not reducible to the price of this world's goods. Naaman resisted the prophet Elisha's demand to wash in the Jordan 7 times, acting like the false man he used to be, raging about his tent, saying things such as, "There are rivers in Syria. Are these waters not good enough for this prophet, this man of God? Why must I go where all of these others go?" Part of his antagonism was about the Jews washing there, and it had been a Jewish POW slave who told them of this God of theirs who could cure him when huge gifts, dozens of bulls sacrificed to the gods of Syria, had done nothing but make him poorer, lighten his purse by a goodly amount. But his aides, with no small encouragement from the Jewish slaves, speaking deliberately to be overheard. For though they were slaves, Naaman was a good, fair master who actually paid them for their work, even though they were slaves. And he gave them time off for their festivals, to be home with a sick child or parent, and even sent them his own doctor. So these slaves or minimum wage workers, who also received full room and board for their entire families, made sure that the chief of staff heard of the hundreds healed of leprosy at the river, of deafness and other lifelong or fatal diseases. Naaman resisted Elisha's demand, for it was too simple, too ordinary, too easily attainable. Anyone could disrobe and wash 7 times in the Jordan River. Where was the challenge required to achieve this Jewish God's grace, this Jewish God's assistance, his God's healing? Was healing and all of the other of this God's gifts simply given away to all the people who did this simple task of washing in this one river, special only to this people? Beyond credulity. The power of the simplicity found no room in Naaman's imagination. Yet, the words of his servants, spoken and timed to be deliberately overheard, thus changed his mind. If the prophet had commanded that you do some strenuous, dangerous, or another great thing, you would have done it with no second thought, for that is what you had expected to hear. But because it was simple, because it was disrobe and wash yourself in the Jordan River 7 times, you are arguing? At this, Naaman gave in. Seeing how he had become hard-hearted and slow to listen to his usual advisers, unless they told him what he had already decided he would need to do, or what he expected to need to do. Naaman gave in with an apology spoken aloud, and a gesture of humility. He rode his great charger, his war horse, and his daily armor to the banks of the Jordan River. He dismounted, disrobed of all his armor and mail, and descended to the water of the river. As he washed, Naaman's flesh was restored to be like that of a young child, and Naaman was clean of all the sores and any kind of diseases from his being a soldier. And it was thus that Naaman the Syrian, Naaman the Great, and General Naaman of the kingdom of Aram, came to believe in the powerful God of the Jews as the one God of the world, able to withstand any power, any monster, any disease. And by that simple cure, Naaman was converted to be a Christian.